everyone. So this video is going to be my end of March updates, and I'm going to start with a couple new acquisitions. So the first thing I have is Dendrobium lowii as a flask. So it'll be quite a while before these mature and bloom, but I really wanted this plant and it's quite difficult to find a blooming sized plant, so of course I bought a flask. And you can see the plants are still pretty small. So I'm just going to leave it in there unless there's some contamination. I'll film the flask each month just so we can track the rate of growth of the seedlings. So the second plant is Lepanthes tentaculata. This is the first Lepanthes I've ever had, and I'm a little scared to take care of it because I know it needs pretty high humidity and the plant is super tiny. So right now what I have is I just have the plant sitting in some damp moss. What I do is I keep a lid on top, but it's just sitting on top, it's not closed tight. What I will end up doing is mounting this on some driftwood I found at the beach, which I've already soaked. I think it should be okay. That's in the works for this plant. In other news, my Papilioanthe taiwaniana bloomed, and I do have a bloom video in the works for this as well. And here's a bit of a sneak peek. Alright, so this is my LC Supersonic Striking Lip. The growth is trying to go to the side, so I might have to rotate this. And this is my RLC Durigan. And what I did was I repotted it. This sideways growth was driving me pretty crazy, so I've rotated it so the smaller growths are kind of in the pot. And this is more up, so it's a little bit more straight. And this is my SLC World Vacation Shibuya Sunset. And I did the same thing for this plant too. All the growths are growing downward actually into the pot, and it was getting kind of troublesome. So again, I rotated it so it's a bit more up. You can see this part was in the pot before. So I have one new growth, and unfortunately I ended up breaking a new growth on the other side, but I think it'll be fine. And this is my Phal fimbriata, and it has 6 blooms open, which is really nice. Here are my Vanda leucostele seedlings. If you're wondering where that big basket is, I found some thrips on it, so I had to isolate it, but these ones seem clean. So regarding the thrips situation, also my Dendrobium Veloculum cross had thrips, so that's also isolated. I'm getting a bit frustrated. So I decided to buy a commercial pesticide. I bought the Safer's End-All. So I'm going to try that and see if that helps resolve things. And here are my Paraphalaenopsis seedlings, and they're doing really well still, so that's good. And this is my Rhynchorides Bangkok Sunset, and I changed the moss and I've straightened it up in the pot, so it sits a bit nicer now. This is my Vanda Perez. I've also changed the moss on this. And this is my Ascocentrum Miniatum, and it's in bloom. It looks great. Very good, reliable bloomer. And here are the blooms up close. This is my Coryanthes leucocorys pushing out a new growth. And this is my Leptotes bicolor, maturing the 2 buds there. So unless things go horribly wrong, I should see blooms on this plant finally. This is my Polycycnus trilifera, and it's pushing out a new growth. And this is Orangus punctata pushing out a new leaf. And this is my Bolophyllum sanguineopunctatum, and I decided to mount it. I think it would do better on a mount. It's also a lot more stable since I can really pin it down to the cork. And this is my Tentaculata alata, and it's pushing out a new growth, which is really good. And this is my Venda Kristada. So this was the spike I showed last time, and you can see it's all dried up, but the good news is that it's pushing out another spike, so that's good. So this is my Dendrobium carniferum. It had a couple keikis on it, which I removed and planted separately. One of them had thrips, so I just decided to chuck it. I didn't want to deal with it. The other one also had thrips, but it seems to be okay. Problem is, it doesn't really seem to be pushing out roots for some reason, even though I keep the root zone pretty moist. So we'll see how that goes. And as of this plant, this was the latest growth, and I don't know, it doesn't really seem to do well, but it's pushing out another growth here and another keiki here. And this one is Dendrobium Scabbylingu, and there's absolutely no activity on it. I'm not sure what's going on. I think it's probably dying. And this one is Dendrobium Christianum. It has 2 growths growing on it, and they look really good, so I'm happy with that. And this is Dendrobium draconis. It's also pushing 1 growth out, and it's doing pretty well. And this is Dendrobium ex iste, and it's pushing out quite a lot of growth, so that's good. And this is Dendrobium leucocorys. This one was also repotted just so it sits a bit nicer in the pot. It has a bunch of new growths, but they're pretty slow to actually do anything. And this is my Cattleya taiwaniana, and it has this growth growing. I'm trying to really keep on top of the watering and fertilizing so it can grow properly. And these are my Dendrobium Veloculum seedlings, and they're doing very well as well. Last but not least is my Dendrobium Veloculum. It's pushing out a bud, you can see there at the bottom, so that's very exciting. I really love the flower on this one. Alrighty, so that's my video for today. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!